design brief is the most important piece of writing that you are going to do throughout your NEA. Without this little piece of writing, you don't have a project, you don't have a product, you don't have a focus, and everything that you did from that point onwards would mean less because you haven't really focused in on what your problem is. So with that in mind, we need to make sure that what we're doing is really well written, it's really thoroughly thought through, and make sure that we're specific about what problem it is that we are looking at. So we need to be clear, we need to be concise. So all of this needs to be quite compact. It doesn't want to be quite waffling and long. And most of all, as much as I've said it needs to be very clear about what your problem is, it needs to be vague about the solution. Because at this stage, we don't want to get locked into design fixation. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look through the questions that I want answered in order to write a good design brief. And each one of those will be colour-coded. So as you can see on the screen now, a red question has come up and that asks you to state the basics of the problem. Now this should be really short, just a statement with no explanation. I would say around 10 to 15 words. So storage of art products can be an issue for lots of professional artists and at-home crafters. That's it. Short statement, in a sentence, first section done. The next section along in the orange is why is this a problem? So art is something which requires a large amount of physical storage due to the wide variety of materials and equipment needed. So I've expanded on that first sentence and said why storage of art is a problem and talked about the reasons that are there. But again, very concise. Third question's along. Could you give me any more details as to why it is a problem? So I've expanded a little bit further on the orange question and said restrictions such as weight and size limit on planes and space in camping rucksacks can mean that artists leave behind equipment at times when inspiration might otherwise have struck. So there I have narrowed down my design brief. I've talked about storage, but I've narrowed it down to people who are going to travel around with their art supplies. So my problem is storage for people travelling with art supplies. So in those first three sentences, I've been very clear about what my problem is. The green question, how does this present an opportunity to design a product? Now, this is where we get vague. So I believe this presents an opportunity to design and develop a product that will hold and organise artist equipment, materials and art in a smarter way. I believe this presents an opportunity to design and develop a product. It's vague. I've never said what it's going to be. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what form it will take. And that is exactly how it should be at this stage. The blue question asks how this product would help. So what I've said here is that this means that they will be able to have access to a wider range of materials and tools when travelling, meaning less restrictions on their artwork. Again, it's talking about storing things in a smart way, but it's not telling you what that product's going to look like. The purple question, so who are the primary users? So in this project, the primary user is travellers and young professionals, as these are the people most likely to frequently encounter the problems listed above. So I've named who my primary users are. That's a generic name, so travellers and young professionals, not, Dave and Bob. And I've said why they're going to be a primary user. So it's because they're most likely to frequently encounter the problems. And the last one in the pink box, who are the potential stakeholders? So there will be other stakeholders in this project I'll need to consider. Now, a stakeholder is anybody who isn't your primary user, so somebody else that has an interest in your product succeeding. So these could be retail outlets such as The Works, Hobbycraft and WH Smith and other art suppliers. And they're important because they know what kind of requirements primary users look for when using these products. So they're going to be able to help me build my product. So to read in full, storage of art products can be an issue for lots of professional artists and at-home crafters. Art is something which requires a large amount of physical storage due to the wide variety of materials and equipment needed. Restrictions such as weight and size limit on planes and space in camping rucksacks can mean that artists leave behind equipment at times when inspiration might otherwise have struck. I believe this presents an opportunity to design and develop a product that will hold and organise artists' equipment, materials and art in a smarter way. This means that they will be able to have access to a wider range of materials and tools when travelling, meaning less restrictions on their artwork. The primary user for this project would be travellers and young professionals, as these are the people most likely to frequently encounter these problems listed above. There will be other stakeholders in this project I will need to consider. These could be retail outlets such as The Works, Hobbycraft, WH Smith and other art suppliers. They're important because they know what kinds of requirements primary users look for when using these products. So in short, this would give you a full 20 marks on this section. It has everything you need. It's concise, it's to the point, it's clear about the problem, but it's vague about the outcome. It also mentions primary users and stakeholders, which you will need to do to get full marks.